the size of those hands.
The war of attrition for the Celtics.
Wham! Andre picked him up with ease.
Andre the Giant was one of wrestling's most beloved legends, but for some WWE stars, working with him truly felt like a nightmare. He was a special attraction, a beloved hero, and the man who carried entire shows. Yet behind that famous smile lived a punishing locker room boss who could turn any match into a slow, painful lesson. So why did so many respected wrestlers secretly fear stepping in the ring with him? To understand that answer, you have to step inside the 1980s WWF locker room. This was an old-school world where veteran wrestlers handled their own discipline. If you broke the unwritten rules, the boys handled it themselves. At the top of that pecking order stood André. He had a deep bond with the McMahon family going back years before the company became a global brand. He was a massive draw at every arena, and he had the size to control anything that happened in the ring. Sharing the ring with him could be a huge career boost, but it could also be a long night of pain. There is a side of André that often gets forgotten. He lived with a condition called acromegaly, which made his body grow far beyond a normal frame. By the late 1980s, he was in constant pain. His back, knees, and hips ached every day. Planes, hotels, showers, and even bathrooms were too small for him. People stared at him everywhere he went. The locker room was one of the only places he could feel like a peer instead of a circus act. So when wrestlers crossed him, he made sure they remembered it. Before we start the countdown, hit that subscribe button and drop a comment. Was André protecting the business or simply abusing his power? We want your honest take. Number 8 is Hulk Hogan. On screen, the two men looked like the perfect rivals. Behind the scenes, they clashed over how matches should be built. Hogan came from the new school. He liked to plan his matches carefully, writing sequences on paper and rehearsing the moments in his head. André came from the old school. He preferred to call the action naturally in the ring, reading the crowd and trusting his instincts. Before WrestleMania 3, Hogan tried again and again to talk through the finish. André stayed cold and uncooperative. The story goes that Hogan walked into a stadium of around 93,000 fans without truly knowing if the Giant would let himself be pinned. Even the biggest star on the planet had to wait on André's mood. Number 7 is Bad News Brown, also known as Alan Coge. He was no ordinary wrestler. He won a bronze medal in judo at the 1976 Montreal Olympics, and the boys knew he could fight for real. During a long tour bus ride, Coge allegedly overheard André use a racial slur. He confronted the Giant straight away. The next morning, Coge made it clear that he was ready for a real fight if needed. According to locker room stories, André quickly backed down and offered a sincere apology. The two stayed cold for years, but they made peace before André's death. This moment showed that the Giant's power had limits. He punished people he could control, but he was far more careful with anyone who could fight back. Number 6 is the Iron Sheik. The Sheik had a real amateur wrestling background and a tough reputation. But wrestlers later claimed he carried himself with too much ego and worked very stiff in the ring. André hated that. At Nassau Coliseum in 1984, the Giant decided to teach him a lesson. Instead of letting the heel control the match, André dominated for around 20 minutes straight. He shrugged off every strike. He hit a heavy boot to the face and dropped his huge body across the Sheik's neck. The Sheik barely landed a single move worth mentioning. Years later, he publicly criticized André, saying the Giant was rude to fans and peers. The match was not just wrestling, it was social policing in front of a packed crowd. Number 5 is Hacksaw Jim Duggan. Duggan was known for carrying a wooden 2x4 to the ring. The prop came from advice given to him by Bruiser Brody, who told him to keep a real weapon nearby in case wild fans rushed performers. During a chaotic televised brawl in 1988, Duggan swung the heavy board too wildly and accidentally cracked André across the head. The Giant went flat on his back. For a man already living in daily pain, an unprotected blow to the head was no small matter. Duggan spent the rest of the tour terrified. In their next matches, André paid him back with thunderous chest chops that left him bruised for days. Duggan even snapped his own wooden board across the Giant during one heated exchange. Number 4 is Big John Studd. Studd stood at 6 feet 10 inches and tried to build his career as a Giant. The problem was that André's entire identity rested on being wrestling's only true giant. When Stud started stepping over the top rope during his entrances, André saw red. That visual was his trademark, and he viewed it as pure disrespect. Instead of arguing backstage, the Giant punished Stud in the ring. He sandbagged him. He refused to sell Stud's offense, standing still while clotheslines and slams bounced off him. By making Stud look weak, André protected his own status as the one and only. Their feud peaked with the famous Body Slam challenge at the first WrestleMania, where Stud was dominated from start to finish. Number 3 is Jake the Snake Roberts. On television, the storyline focused on André being scared of Damien, Jake's enormous python. The twist is that the fear was not just acting. André genuinely hated reptiles. There was a Saturday night's main event segment where Roberts draped the snake over him, and the Giant reacted with real terror. Backstage, André wanted nothing to do with that python. So inside the ring, he used his 500-pound frame as a weapon. He trapped Roberts in the corner, smothered him with his body, and dropped his huge backside on him again and again. Roberts later spoke about how miserable it felt. To make matters worse, the snake reportedly bit André at one point, turning real fear into deeper resentment that he took out on Jake. Number 2 is the Ultimate Warrior. Warrior was raw, intense, and rising fast. But veterans saw him as reckless and dangerously stiff. During a late 1989 house show loop, he was booked to look strong against an aging and badly hurting André. Night after night, Warrior charged in and hit the Giant with painful clotheslines that jarred his fragile neck. André and Bobby Heenan reportedly asked him to ease up. Warrior did not listen, so the Giant decided to teach him in his own way. During a rope run spot, André simply stuck his massive fist out. Warrior ran straight into it at full speed and knocked himself out cold. His face paint cracked from the impact. André casually pinned him. For the rest of the tour, Warrior worked much softer and far more respectful. Number 1 is Macho Man Randy Savage. Savage was famous for coating his entire body in baby oil before every match. He believed it was a key part of his look, and he refused to change it for anyone. André hated it. During close contact, the slick oil rubbed all over his huge frame. Then, back at the hotel, he had to scrub it off in showers that were never built to hold a man his size. According to locker room stories, his brother Lanny Poffo begged him to skip the oil when wrestling the Giant. Savage refused, so André made him pay. He delivered heavy, stiff chops to Savage's chest and unloaded with brutal blows that had nothing to do with the script. The Macho Man kept his look, but he wore the marks of his stubbornness on his body. When you line all of these stories up, the pattern becomes impossible to miss. Savage annoyed him with baby oil, so André hit harder. Warrior was reckless, so the Giant knocked him out cold. Jake brought a snake near his face, so André smothered him in the corner. Stud copied his Giant image, so André refused to make him look strong. Dugan struck him by accident, so the Giant made the tour feel like torture. The Sheik flashed too much ego, so André crushed him in front of a live crowd. Bad News Brown stood his ground, so the Giant backed off. Hogan tried to script every move, so André kept him anxious until the very last second. This was not random anger. It was a system. Inside that ring, the Giant served as judge, jury, and punishment all rolled into one. None of this erases the real André. He lived in constant pain. He traveled the world drawing huge crowds. He protected wrestling traditions in an era that was changing fast. But his legend has a clear shadow. For many of the men who worked with him, respect always came mixed with fear. If this countdown gave you a fresh way to see one of wrestling's biggest icons, drop a comment with the story that shocked you the most. André remains one of the most unforgettable figures in the history of the business. But the stories from those who shared his locker room prove that being a legend does not always mean being easy to work with.